Hello, and welcome to my talk for this week. It's good to have you with me. The last few days have been very difficult for us all. Firstly, we had the discovery of the remains of 215 residential school children near Kamloops in British Columbia. And earlier this week, the killing of members of a Muslim family in London, Ontario. Events like these cause us to ask deep questions about our past, our present, and our future. As I consider such things, I often turn to Scripture. I find it helpful that N.T. Wright reminds us that Scripture tells us the story of God's victory over evil, focused in the person and actions of Jesus. The Bible also tells us stories of people who struggled with the consequences of the coming of evil and often departed from God's purpose. In the light of recent events, I am again forced to ask the question, how do I understand the purpose of God, and how am are we, to live within that? I always find myself returning to what I consider to be God's default position, which is one of unity. If we follow the calendar of the Book of Common Prayer, we're currently in the season of Trinity. As I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, the Church came to understand the nature of God as three in one and one in three. There is no division in the Godhead, and it's bound together in mutual love. It's out of this that humanity is created, and we are to carry that image representing God in a harmonious creation. No matter what we make of the Genesis stories, we know that God's creation was good. Even after humans had become estranged from God, we still find in Genesis God's desire for good to happen to all humanity. In Genesis 12:1 and following, we find that Abraham is called to be the father of a nation, which will be a blessing to all the families of the earth. Some of the Old Testament prophets use imagery which tell of the nations of the earth coming together on Mount Zion. In John 17, Jesus prays for unity. And on the day of Pentecost, all the barriers of language are broken down so that all might hear the gospel message. In Hebrews chapter 10, we're told that the sacrifice of Christ is once for all. All of this shows us that God's intent is that everything is intended for everyone. We're always being pointed back to the original unity of humanity under God. I leave us with a question. Are we able to live as if this is true? Thank you again for joining me. I trust that you'll have a blessed week. God bless and stay safe.